The word liberty, it feels so familiar, doesn't it? It's everywhere. Laws, monuments. We think we know it.
We absolutely do. But it's one of those ideas that seems simple on the surface.
Until you actually look closer.
Exactly. When you dig into how the great thinkers defined it, you find these, well, radically different, sometimes even contradictory views. It's far more complex than just a political slogan.
And that complexity, that tension between the popular idea and the deep philosophical meaning, that's what we're exploring today.
Right. We're tracing the intellectual journey of liberty, largely using Mortimer Adler's framework. He saw it not just as a political term, but as the central problem connecting, individual freedom and the authority of the community.
Okay, Adler sets it up on two levels, right? There's the internal, sort of metaphysical state.
A condition of the soul, yeah.
And then there's the external, the political condition of being a citizen.
Precisely. And you really can't understand the Western conversation about freedom without starting with those ancient foundations. Plato focusing inward, Aristotle looking outward.
Let's unpack Plato first. In the Republic, his idea of freedom sounds very ethical, internal.
It really is. For Plato, being truly free means achieving self-mastery. It's about reason governing the less rational parts of the soul, passions, appetites.
So freedom isn't licensed to do anything.
Not at all. It's liberation from ignorance, from being driven by base desires. If you're just reacting to every impulse, every craving, Plato says you're actually a slave to those things.
So even if no external law stops me, if I just chase pleasure all day, I'm fundamentally unfree in Plato's eyes because something irrational is ruling me.
That's exactly it. It's almost a psychological definition of being enslaved. And he had a pretty stark warning about this for society, too.
What was that?
He warned that if you give people civic liberty, freedom in the state, without also giving them the moral education for internal discipline, well, society descends into chaos, into the tyranny of desire.
A democracy where everyone just demands their own way, unbound by reason.
Doomed to fail, in Plato's view. It needs that internal check.
Okay, so that's the inner world. Now, Aristotle, in his Politics, he brings liberty firmly into the city, the polis.
Right. Aristotle shifts the focus to the citizen acting within an organized community. For him, liberty isn't just about inner control, though that's related. It's defined by the citizen acting rationally, intelligently directing themselves within a just constitution.
So it's social, political.
Inherently social, yes.
Yeah.
And always aimed at the common good, not just individual whim.
So Plato emphasizes inner reason. Aristotle emphasizes rational action with others under law. How did Adler bring these together? They seem quite different.
Adler used what he called the ratio directive to synthesize them. Think of it as the core principle. True freedom requires inner reason, that's the ratio, the Platonic part, to serve as the rational guide, the directive for our actions within the law. That's the Aristotelian part.
I see. So it forces us to see freedom not as a finished state, but as this ongoing effort, balancing internal order and external justice.
Exactly. It sets the stage for the entire ongoing conversation.
This is Mindful Moments, by the way, our YouTube channel. We offer AI analysis to inspire deeper reading and reflection. And what you're hearing now is actually a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM.
And picking up that thread, after the classical thinkers, you see the early Christian philosophers like Augustine and Aquinas step in. They sort of mediate the discussion, shifting the focus a bit towards the human will.
How did theology change the definition of liberty?
Well, Augustine, for instance, saw true freedom primarily as liberation from sin, and that could only be achieved through divine grace. So for him, the human will needed to be aligned with, subordinated to divine truth.
So if your will is pointed towards error or vice, you're essentially in bondage, no matter what the laws say.
That's the idea. Your external status doesn't guarantee inner freedom.
And Aquinas, he brought Aristotle back into it, didn't he? But with a missed on choice.
He did. Aquinas really drills down on the nature of choice itself. He argues that true liberty isn't just the ability to choose anything good or evil indifferently. It's the capacity, grounded in reason and grace, to choose the good.
That sounds a little odd to modern ears. Why is freedom only to choose the good seen as higher?
Because for Aquinas, choosing evil is fundamentally irrational. It goes against our nature, against reason itself. So someone who freely chooses what's false or harmful is, in a deeper sense, acting against their own true self-interest. They're enslaving themselves to something lesser.
I see. So the highest, most perfect freedom is the ability, guided by reason and grace, to consistently choose what is actually true and good.
Right. Paradoxically, obedience to truth becomes the ultimate expression of freedom in this view.
Okay, so the classical and theological traditions really focused on freedom as an internal achievement, self-mastery, virtue, liberation from sin. But then the Enlightenment comes along and flips the script.
It really does. There's a major shift towards secularization. Liberty stops being primarily a spiritual or ethical goal and becomes more of a constitutional principle, a right that needs protecting from external forces.
And that's where the big debate about negative versus positive liberty really takes off.
Absolutely, it ignites immediately.
And Hobbes gives us probably the starkest version of purely negative liberty. It feels almost opposite to Plato.
It's incredibly stark. In Leviathan, Hobbes boils liberty down to its bare minimum. Simply the absence of external obstacles. The silence of the law, as he put it.
So where the government hasn't made a rule, there you're free.
That's it, purely negatives. And for him, this minimalist view was necessary because the absolute power of the sovereign was needed just to maintain basic order. And without order, Hobbes argued, you have no freedom at all.
He basically prioritized security over any kind of rich ethical freedom. Then Locke comes in and pushes back hard, grounding freedom in the individual again.
Locke completely changes the emphasis. He sees liberty as a positive, natural right. It belongs to us inherently, stemming from our reason and the fact that we own ourselves.
And the crucial difference from Hobbes.
For Locke, government doesn't create freedom. It exists to protect the freedom we already have by nature. That's a cornerstone of so much modern political thought.
But then Rousseau throws a wrench in the works, talking about the general will. How can submitting to a collective will make you more free? That seems paradoxical.
It does, but Rousseau was worried about the downside of pure individualism, the potential for selfishness that Locke's view might allow. He argued true freedom lies in submitting to the general will.
Which isn't just what everyone happens to want.
No, it's meant to be the collective rational interest of the whole community. The idea is, since you, as a rational citizen, participated equally in making the laws that express this general will, obeying those laws is like obeying your own higher collective rational self.
So you're free because you're an equal part of the group that makes the rules you live by.
That's the core of his argument. It's freedom through civic participation and equality.
Okay, fast forward to the 19th century. John Stuart Mill. He seems to really expand the zone of individual liberty, protecting conscience, individuality.
Mill's on liberty is hugely influential. He gives us the famous harm principle.
Right, power can only justly be used over someone against their will to prevent harm to others.
Exactly. That carves out this huge space for individual thought, belief, lifestyle choices where the individual should be sovereign, free from interference, whether from the state or society.
But Mill saw a danger in the very system he was advocating, didn't he? This tyranny of the majority.
He did. And that's a tension we still live with. How much can the majority, the prevailing opinion, pressure, or even suppress minority views or unconventional lifestyles before it starts to erode the very liberty the system is supposed to protect?
If democracy just becomes a tool for the majority to impose conformity,
then liberty loses its dynamism, its ability to foster progress through new ideas and dissent. It's a really tough balancing act.
Which brings us back to Adler's perspective, looking at something like the American Constitutional Project as, well, philosophy in action, an attempt to strike that balance.
That's a good way to put it. If you look at the preamble to the U.S. Constitution, the goal is to secure the blessings of liberty. But notice how it's framed liberty alongside justice, domestic tranquility, the common defense.
So it's not liberty in isolation, it's ordered liberty.
Precisely. It echoes Aristotle's idea of liberty within a structure aimed at the common good, and even Plato's insistence that freedom needs the discipline of reason, not just unchecked desire. Liberty needs guardrails.
And Adler rounds this all off by talking about liberty not just politically, but as a kind of intellectual and ethical journey.
Yes, he maps out these stages of understanding liberty. It starts, he says, as mere opinion, which is basically license, just doing whatever you feel like, which is unstable.
Okay.
Then it develops into knowledge, understanding your rights, your rational autonomy, the limits. Then comes understanding, seeing how your individual rights connect with public virtue and the common good.
And the final stage.
Wisdom. That's where liberty is fully integrated with justice, where you grasp the whole picture in a balanced, harmonious way.
That progression really highlights that the freedom worth having isn't just granted. It's something achieved intellectually and morally.
It absolutely is. And running through this whole long history, from Plato down to Mill and beyond, there's this core ethical test. Adler called it the Golden Rule Assessment.
Meaning?
Meaning that true liberty has to respect reciprocal dignity. if your exercise of freedom depends on denying freedom or dignity to someone else.
Then it fails the test. It's not genuine liberty, like the phrase, no one is free until all are free.
Exactly. That captures the ethical core. So this whole exploration shows liberty demanding both that inner mastery Plato talked about and the external justice Aristotle focused on. It's what Adler meant by freedom ordered to truth.
Just a reminder, you're listening to Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel offering AI book analysis, summaries, critiques, and podcasts, all designed to inspire reflection and rational thought.
So we've seen that liberty, in this deep philosophical sense, requires internal order, reason, that ratio directive connecting Plato and Aristotle, which leads us to a final thought for you, our listeners. Given that real liberty seems to need this kind of reasoned self-governance, this moral education, what contemporary institutions or practices, maybe in education, culture, or community life, do you see effectively fostering that today? What helps ensure that our freedom doesn't just slide back into that chaotic tyranny of desire Plato warned about?
That's a challenging question. How do we actually cultivate the wisdom that liberty requires, not just the license? Something to think about.
Definitely. And if you want to explore these ideas further, click the link on screen for the in-depth book analysis. Please subscribe, share, maybe purchase the book via the link, and keep thinking rationally.
And check out our other genre-based book podcasts right here at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.